Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Obas Trending Gist, where we bring you the stories behind the headlines. Today, we are diving into a revelation that takes us back to one of the most tense and uncertain period in Nigeria's recent history. What if I told you that Nigeria was once on the brink of a military coup, not in the 80s or 90s, but as recent as 2010? Former President Goodluck Jonathan has just opened up about the immense pressure and political chaos that surrounded the illness of his predecessor, the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. For context, remember the political arrangement at the time. Yar'Adua, a northern Muslim, had taken over from Obasanjo, a southern Christian. The expectation was that the North would hold power for 8 years, but when President Yar'Adua fell gravely ill and was out of the country for an extended period, it created a massive power vacuum. There was no president available to run the country, and the constitution was unclear on what to do next. This wasn't just a political problem, it was a full-blown constitutional crisis that left the nation rudderless and exposed. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. But how bad did it really get? Let's hear it directly from the man who was at the very center of that storm, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan himself. So sit back and take a watch.
There's always balancing between North and South, Muslims and Christians. And Yar'Adua was a Northern Muslim, who was the president. And he took over from a Southern Christian, Obasanjo, who ruled for 8 years. So definitely the Northern Muslims wanted Yar'Adua to at least do 8 years before he could come back to the South for another, probably a Christian, to take over. But well, the health issue came up, and it was the problem. And that is why even to allow me to act was an issue. When Yar'Adua was going for the medical checkup, actually a letter was written. Of course, the Constitution says that for the Vice President to act, the President would send a letter to the Senate and the House of Rep, informing them. That letter was written, but the person who the letter was handed over to, I will not mention the name to you now, was one of the aides of Yar'Adua, refused to submit the letter to the National Assembly. And Yar'Adua became so ill that he had no control of issues. So we had the country where the president was not available and there was no acting president. Yes, as a vice president, you can take over the responsibilities of some responsibilities of the president. You know, the president of Nigeria has two main responsibilities. First, you're the chief executive of the country, so like a prime minister of a country. That the vice president can assume, wait, you don't need any transfer. And I was doing that because we're having an executive council meeting, we're approving memos from ministers, so the government was going on. But there was no commander-in-chief. What is the second responsibility of the president of Nigeria, besides being the executive head of the country?
So just take a moment to process that. That is absolutely incredible to hear. 3 things from that clip are truly shocking. Number 1, the revelation that a letter for the transfer of power was actually written by President Yar'Adua, but an aide, a gatekeeper, refused to deliver it. This single act held the entire nation hostage and was the direct cause of the crisis. Secondly, the critical difference between being a chief executive and the commander-in-chief.
And there's nothing like acting commander-in-chief. Either you're a commander-in-chief or not. But when you become an acting president, you are at the same time a commander-in-chief. So that was lacking, and no country allows that gap. A country like America, you don't allow that gap at all. If American president wants to, even if it's a whitlow, that he require anesthesia, that he will be off for 5 minutes, he will hand over to the vice president. Yes. Before that procedure. Immediately he regained consciousness to take over. But we stayed for some time. And that led to what they call the Doctrine of Necessity. When the National Assembly felt that the country was in a situation where it was not expected, they now have to initiate this Doctrine of Necessity, and they now made me to act as the president without the letter from Yar'Adua. So the country was tense. Yes. And under this North-South divide, Christian-Muslim divide, it was really tense. And every day I was hearing about coup. I remember one day, I will not mention the names of some of my friends, came to look, Vice President, that time I was not even acting. They have not even moved the Doctrine of Necessity. I was still the Vice President. No, you don't have to sleep here. You have to come and sleep in my guest house. And so on. I said, no, I will stay in the State House. If anybody wants to kill me, it's better you kill me in the State House, so the Nigerians will know that they assassinated me in the State House. They know I have not committed any offense. If I decided to go and stay in a guest house, and wherever I'm going, security people would know. And if people go and kill me there, they will now say Indian girls brought apple to kill me. And I wouldn't want that kind of story. But if they assassinate, it's better that I die here in the State House than being assassinated outside the State House, because all kinds of stories will come up. So that was how tense it was. And to me, I was not bothered. Really, I was not bothered. And I was very calm. But that was the scenario.
Jonathan could chair meetings, but he couldn't command the military. In a country battling insurgencies, having no commander-in-chief is a terrifying security risk. It explains why the doctrine of necessity was so vital. Thirdly, the raw personal story of fear for his life, the fact that his friends were telling him to hide, and his decision to stay put in the State House, saying, if you want to kill me here so the world knows. That shows immense courage under unimaginable pressure. This was a time when Nigeria's democracy was truly tested. The actions of the National Assembly and the calm navigation by figures like Jonathan arguably saved the country from collapse or another military takeover. But what do you think? Were you aware of just how close Nigeria was to the edge during that period? What does this revelation about the unsent letter change for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Obas Trending Gist, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay informed.